So you're thinking about running, but not sure how to take the first step. My name's Brian Patterson, and I'm here to help. And welcome to Brian's Run Pod. So, welcome to Brian's Run Pod. Again, it's me, Brian Patterson, and this week's episode, we have a special guest, which is my friend Jon. And say hello, Jon.
Hello, Brian. Thank you very much for having me today.
This is the first time that I've had a guest on the podcast, so bear with us. But anyway, I thought it'd be great to have a friend of mine who is a keen runner, and also give me his kind of journey as to what he does, how he got into running and where he is at the moment. So, Jon, over to you. How do you get into running?
Yeah, so probably about 10 years ago. So I've always been trying to lose weight ever since I was too heavy or heavier than I should have been. So yeah, about 10 years ago, I'd had lots of gym memberships that I'd have for 6 months. And, eventually I'd run out of steam or find excuses of no reason to go. So I thought I'd give running just give it a go because it's cheap. And you don't need to, you don't need a membership. You can do it anywhere. And I can remember my first, I had run at school. Obviously in sport you run as well, but I can remember my first sort of proper run, and it was probably only a mile. I think it was about a mile, and about 2/3 of the way through it, I tripped over a bit of raised pavement and scraped a load of skin off my hand. And then I got back and I was actually sick. I was that unfit. So about 10-ish years ago, but bizarrely about a week later I thought actually I enjoyed that. And it was, what I found is that quite quickly I was able to get up to 5k pretty easily. And then about a year after that I did a half marathon. I've never done a full marathon, but I've done about 4 or 5 half marathons since, and various other runs. So yeah, that's how I got into running. Trying to lose weight. That was really the main motivator.
So I noticed that you said something about the kind of the benefits. Did you the health benefits? Because I know that Alice, my daughter, who's running, is trying to get fit, but she noticed that she can sort of run to the bus without getting out of breath. Did you kind of get those kind of things?
Yeah, and just natural. Yeah, just running up the stairs, even just things like sweating less. You just have a natural level of fitness that it helps with. And I've always had, sort of various smart watches and things like that check, testing your resting heart rate. And it definitely, if I'm in a good, run of running, my natural fitness is a lot better.
Oh, good. Okay. So was sport a big part of your education in terms of your curriculum? Have you always been keen on either sport at school or that kind of thing?
Yeah, so we at school, at secondary school, played rugby for the second 15, but did play the odd match for the first 15. Played cricket for the first 11, and then loved playing football with friends sort of at the weekend. So. Sport was and still is a huge part of my life. I mean, actual running, I can remember cross country at school. I hated it, absolutely hated it, because I wasn't very good at it. Yeah. I remember there was the course, it took you sort of outside the school grounds, and there was a shortcut you could go through. You could go through a housing estate, and you'd shave off about half a mile. So I can remember that. That's my only memory of cross country, just not really liking it and just trying to get out of it.
Right. So how old were you when you kind of decided to get back into running again?
Would have been early 30s.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, in my 20s, I wouldn't have done any running. I did go to the gym, but not, nothing, no routine into running, nothing like that at all.
Oh, right. Okay. So, people always talk about the mental health, tends to be a bit of a buzzword these days. Has that improved, or has that helped you?
Yeah, definitely. And definitely something I struggled with, a lot in my 20s of sort of, I guess for various reasons. That's probably a different podcast. But,
exactly.
I think what I found about running, or what I find about doing it is, and I always tend to do run early in the morning. So it's sort of, I get up, I do some stretches, and I go running. And I just feel it sort of gives you a platform for the day. There's something about, obviously there's the physical benefits of it, and you're sort of naturally your endorphins and what have you. That I guess there's people who understand the science a lot better than I do. But I always felt that it just gave me a good platform for the day. So I always felt more positive and just less stressed. And I think there's probably something about feeling you've done something good and healthy and worthy already, and it's not even 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock.
So would you say you become quite more productive in terms of being at work from doing some form of
I think clearer. I think I'm more motivated, more energized. I think if I get into a rut of not running, I sort of have a lot of inertia. I just won't do, I'll just lounge about. So I do think running sort of, it's that thing of getting out and doing something, overwhelmingly positive. I don't see any negative mental health aspects of running.
What people sometimes going out on their own, sometimes they feel that is, not really a big motivator. So are you kind of a big social runner? Do you like either doing events or running with other people? I know you've said to me that you've run with friends, and that has been quite good.
Definitely. So we've run together, Brian.
We have once, yeah, I know.
we have done that. So I like a bit of both. So I'm quite happy to, put the headphones in and listen to a podcast. Equally quite happy, really enjoy meeting up with people and just, I think that the run goes quicker, and by quicker I don't mean faster. I think that the experience is probably quicker if you're with someone, because you're chatting away. And, oh look, we've gone over Richmond Bridge. We've already, Whereas I think sometimes when you're running on your own, you're sort of, obviously you're with your own thoughts, but actually going back to the mental health thing, I think sometimes that's quite good, because you sort of, there might be something bugging, something work or something in your personal life. And actually, if you're running on your own, sometimes you can just sort of form internal arguments. I've definitely sort of thought stuff through in my head a lot. So I like both of them. If I'm, my wife's family lives down in Cornwall, and I run with our brother-in-law quite a lot. He's a very keen runner down there.
Okay.
So it's one of the things I then look forward to. It's sort of like, I must remember to bring my running kit, and we'll go for a couple of runs.
Yeah.
So
I've always found like doing, like you said, mentioning, if you go away somewhere new or going different routes to where where you're going to be on holiday or whatever, that's a really good a good motivator. Completely agree. Like if we're staying, if we I don't know, if we say we're away for half term or Easter, and we're staying somewhere new, you sort of get the phone out, and Strava will have runs, and you just look at the local. Want to run about 5 miles, and I don't want it to be too hilly. And then obviously if you go abroad as well, it's just the big thing there is obviously the heat. It becomes a huge fun when we're going for a run in. I think we were in Spain, and it was like 35 degrees, and it was I don't think I was. I hadn't quite prepared for how much hotter that is than running at sort of 10 degrees in March in the UK. But I always really, really look forward to plotting out something. And even, as part of the holiday planning, I will go on sort of Google Maps and think, can I run on those roads? Is that like a main road, or is that a road I can sort of run around? The only thing that gets me is it's like when you've got like a hill which is like really steep. And you think, maybe not, maybe next time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or you then end up having to sort of drive somewhere flat, which is what I had to do when I was in Croatia last summer. Was very much like that. It was really hilly and hot, so I just drove like a mile up, and then there was just quite a long flat bit that I could run down.
Do you have you gone into the kind of any of the sort of the training side of running? Have you done any kind of interval sessions, or have you done any tempo runs, or have you said, "Oh, well, this is my long run for the week"? Have you gone into that side of it?
Yeah, I mean, I have, and I've never done a long term sort of training plan, so I haven't ever done sort of a. Well, I'd started to do one training for a half marathon, but then I got a sort of plantar fasciitis, so I had a heel problem, so I couldn't. I had to stop that. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, definitely done interval training, and I've got sort of saved workouts on Strava or Runkeeper before then.
Yeah.
And find them really useful. I think it's quite good to sort of have a bit of a structure. And sometimes, but you and I have had certain conversations about, sometimes my running is a bit unstructured, and it'll just be I do a long, quite fast run, and then I'll do a short, slow run, and there isn't really much thought behind it. So definitely something I think I could do more at. But yeah, I have sort of experimented with different sort of fartlek training and stuff like that. But
yeah. Because sometimes I find that even it could be a short one or a very intense session, like an interval session, and I find that I get more out of that than for, let's say, plodding along for, let's say, 5 to 10 kilometers, where it's if I do something which is more intense, I kind of feel
you're pushing. And I think that maybe that's one of the things. If you don't have a plan, it's quite easy just to stick within your own comfortable boundaries. All of us will have a comfortable pace that we can sort of plod along at, and I mean, I've got a what's it called, a Garmin training sort of watch now, and on that they're very good. They can sort of I'm sure on your even more expensive Apple Watch.
I think all the listening to all the experts, I think there's kind of like it's kind of Garmin's up there. The Apple Watches can kind of, that's for the masses. But
it's so clever, because obviously what you can do is say, look, I want to run at this tempo, for this distance, and I want my heart rate to be in this range, and it will start buzzing if you're not in that range, so you can really you really can stick to it.
Which is good, because I think many years ago I used to do the Polar watch, and they used to do a similar thing. I think this is before GPS, but they used to, if we wanted to go within a specific heart rate, it used to ping if you get over that. So, now, the smartwatches are so
clever, and you've got these pre-built sort of running programs, and they'll be tailored to how fast or sort of how experienced a runner you are and what you are physically. So
do you have any heroes in running or
running? I mean, probably not running. I mean, obviously I admire people like Mo Farah, and just in terms of just the times. Actually, I remember looking. I think it was when he won a 10,000 metre thing, and I've got like a couple of old school friends that were on a sort of running WhatsApp group, and they said, look at the time of his last mile, and it was like, just try and run a mile as fast as you can. And his one was like 2 minutes quicker than I could do. It was something crazy like that. I guess I admire. I mean, partly physically, I'm built differently. You're built differently.
Exactly.
You have to accept.
They are different animals.
Yeah, they are lean, springy. They're not plodders like us. But I mean, heroes, sporting heroes. Probably actually someone like Shane Warne. I mean, I was always very into cricket, and I just thought he was someone who just sort of pushed the boundaries and
literally.
But he was someone that even though it was against England, and you sort of want England to do well. I remember sort of growing up in my sort of influential years, he would have been my probably sporting hero. But but not I mean, running.
Yeah.
Obviously you got this. People like Usain Bolt and. Yeah. But it's more of an admiration of just like, wow, what a physical specimen that is, and obviously, for all those people that hit their, the elite in their field, they've had to work really, really hard and train hard, and it's the dedication. So admiration.
Because I always keep seeing on YouTube of these videos of the guy who got the world record for the marathon, and he's done it in 2 hours 4 minutes, something ridiculous. And they always do this, try and run like him, So they set up a treadmill, and most people can't even do it for like 10 seconds.
No,
I know.
For most people it's a sprint. I mean, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Exactly. So it is. So now I know you touched on it a little bit in terms of your injury. So where are you now with your running? I mean, I take it you're not running now.
So I'm not currently running. So I haven't run since. So we're just at the end of January 23. So I haven't run since October last year. So October 22.
Right.
So and I'll give you I've bored a lot of people with this. So apologies in advance. But
no, you can bore our audience.
But I started getting. I started getting a tightness in my left hip when I was conscious of it when I was running.
Yeah.
Probably about a year ago, and then towards the end of the run, and then after the run for a few hours, I'll call it deep groin pain. Okay?
Right.
So
yeah.
I'll spare the exact details of it, and. Gradually getting worse and worse. So it would be, say I went for a run at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
I would get back. It might not be too bad, but about an hour after, once I'd sort of cooled down, and
right.
it would be really painful, and I would struggle, particularly to lift my left leg. So it would be like a sharp pain.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then by the Sunday morning, it would be fine. Maybe in the night, if I had to get up to sort of go to the toilet or something, it would hurt a bit. But by the morning, it would be fine. And then, the routine would repeat every time I ran.
Yeah.
Or played football or anything that where, you're sort of really...
Yeah. High impact.
Yeah. Exactly. And because running is high impact.
Yeah.
So I had that, and then... Probably late summer, I went for a run. I mentioned my brother-in-law. I went for a run down in Cornwall. It was really bad during the run. I think I had to stop or certainly slow down.
Yeah.
And then really painful afterwards. I was like, look, I need to, and I saw a doctor. Doctor prodded me. Obviously they're more concerned about something slightly more serious. In that sort of region. So not nothing untoward, thankfully. But he said, I think you've probably done something either to your groin or your hip. So I saw a physio, so shout out to Body Logic Physio on Twickenham Green. So went there, and he sort of manipulated, I sort of explained the symptoms and what had triggered it. He's manipulated me, and there's basically got me to lie on my back on the examination table, lift my right knee up towards my chest, and then put my left leg across it, so that your left heel is on your right knee, and you sort of... Yeah. Basically, the movement in my left leg was 10 degrees less than the equivalent on the right. So, he said, "There's something up with your hip," and he gave me some hip strengthening exercises that I still do. He said, "Try, rest off running for a bit, and then he said, go for a run and try and trigger it before your next." My next session with him, which I did, and that's the last run I've done actually, and it was really bad after that. And he said, "Look, I think you should stop running, John, because actually this doesn't feel like something that you can train your way through." Yeah. He recommended getting an MRI scan. I've had an MRI scan. I've had the report back, and I've got this thing called an FAI, which is a femoral acetotubular impingement, which basically means where your thigh bone goes into your hip joint, the sort of neck of that isn't smooth for me. There's a bony lump.
So it's a skeletal...
Correct. Yeah. Okay. And basically that bit of bone is just hitting the sort of tissue, and it's torn the tissue.
Okay.
And I don't know why the pain is manifesting where it is, but that's what it is. So I need surgery. So
Right.
I am now. I am referred to an NHS consultant. I have seen a private consultant, and I'm just mulling over how long Anyway, so yeah, I'm not. I need surgery, and I can't run. I can't do the only sort of exercise I can do is things like swimming or cycling's not too bad. Obviously.
That's interesting. So even, let's say, like a so-called low impact.
Yeah.
So could you do an elliptical?
Yeah. So when I go to the gym, I can't do because there is some clearly every time you're lifting your knee. It's triggering it a little bit. So I can do elliptical. I can obviously do weights and stuff like that, but I can't. Cycling's all right if you're in one of the upright ones. You can't do the one where you sit, where you're sort of sitting almost like you're in a
seating position.
That's where I'm at. So just it's very frustrating, but that's life as a person in their 40s who hasn't looked after their body particularly well. All right, we'll phrase it that way, Brian. The life of an elite athlete.
Okay. Well, even like elite athletes go through this sort of thing, but then it's their livelihood.
Yeah.
So I remember, was it Elise McLaughlin, who's I think she had a fractured femur or something like that, and so she was she couldn't do running, and then I think she was running using the elliptical to help with her fitness and that kind of thing. But yes, well, obviously that's quite frustrating for you at the moment, but in terms of do you feel that's kind of affected from a mental health perspective, or do you feel because you're going to the gym and that kind of thing, at least you're keeping active?
I really, really miss running. So I mean, I am going to the gym. One of the things about going to the gym though is you've got to get there, and then the good thing about running is you start the exercise almost immediately walking out the front door.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So just as a time thing, if I'm going to the gym, I like to go to the gym before work if I can. I have to get up at like 10 to 6, and it's little things like that, and also I talk myself out of it a lot more than I do going running. With running, I would almost trip myself up on the way out of my bedroom door with all my running kits. I always had to go. So I do really miss it. I really miss that sort of the routine I'd got into. I miss the sort of fitness. I'm just not. I can't walk as much anyway. So I got a bit step obsessed with how many average steps I do a day.
Okay.
And my Apple Health keeps warning me that there's been a downward trend in my steps. It's partly because I've changed jobs and I'm now somewhere where I drive rather than getting public transport, but also I'm just not running. So
sure.
I wouldn't say it's getting me stressed, but I do feel I do feel like I'm not getting the same release that I would do normally.
Right. Okay. But there is a solution, there is an end goal, and it will, as you said, you will get back to it.
Yeah, just quickly, the surgeon, I did see a private consultant, and he was a lovely guy, and he said the surgery is, if it's successful, you can be back running in 6 weeks. So it's, basically they shave the bit of bone off, and they pin your tissue.
Okay.
But yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay. Okay, well, going back to the let's not focus too much on the injuries,
on the negative.
But are you a good? Do you listen to music, podcasts? What sort of things are you?
Yeah, so it depends a little bit. If I'm doing a slow tempo run, I'll normally listen to either an audiobook or a podcast. So
okay.
Just because I think that I definitely get impacted by the pace of what I'm listening to.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So I would listen. I don't know what podcast I listen to. Like football podcasts, cricket ones. The rest is politics.
Brian's Run Pod.
Obviously Brian's Run Pod, soon to be number 1 in the UK charts. And I quite like this. So if I'm doing a long slow run, it'll be. And I quite enjoy that because particularly you get a good audio book, you can really get into it. But if I'm doing a higher tempo one, I'll listen to sort of music with a higher tempo.
Yeah. Because I know they sometimes have these playlists, which is 180.
That's right.
beats per
Yeah,
minute, kind of thing.
it's crazy.
And
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, you end up with some sort of like crazy house or sort of dance music. But it does, there is definitely something about there's certain songs as well that you suddenly feel like you're running faster. It may just be in my head, but
yeah. Probably. So I know I have a problem with listening to podcasts or audiobooks when I'm running because I'm not great with doing two things at once. So it's like trying to do the running, then listening to the audiobook because you're trying to concentrate on what they're saying, that kind of thing. So usually if I'm cooled down, then I'll listen to it, sort of thing. Yeah. So great, we've 25 minutes in. And anything else you want to tell our audience about in terms of your running or anything like that?
No, I mean, obviously I don't know. People, I know that you talked to one of your earlier pods, people are always at a very different stage of their running journey. Yeah, exactly. And I think for me, it's just, I guess it's just, if people aren't running or they're sort of at the early stages of it, do stick with it. And I mean, the other thing as well is, if you start to get an injury, don't just sort of brush it off. I mean, I've had obviously this injury I described, but I've had plantar fasciitis sort of on and off.
Yeah.
And it's just one of these things that there's lots of really good, Runner's World and stuff like that. They've got really good articles on it. So don't ignore it if you get an injury. Do try and do some, remedial work as quickly as you can. That I guess would just be my advice.
Yeah. Because I think with I don't know. I have this kind of love-hate relationship with running, although I'm doing a podcast about it, which is interesting. So it's like, it's that kind of motivation, like you said, you have to force yourself into it. And then once you're doing it and the drug that you get, the endorphins that you get after it, it really just takes away the negative.
Yeah. No. I mean, I sort of, and obviously I haven't done it in a while and I will miss this winter. But that when it's -2 degrees or something like that, and you're getting up and it's pitch black, you're getting up in middle of January or something to go running. I'm exactly the same. It is a love-hate thing. At that moment, I'm sort of about to open that front door. I hate it. What are you doing, John?
Yeah.
But once you're warmed up and you're your sort of blood's flowing, your heart's pumping. Yeah. And you're right. I guess it's that thing. I always like that bit just before the end of finishing a run. I like it in events as well when you sort of, you can do it and you've sort of achieved something. I completely agree. It's that sort of, there is a bit of an emotional cycle. And I suspect every runner has that to a certain extent.
You did talk there about events. I mean, you've done park.
I've done park.
Together.
Yeah, we have done it. I mean, I don't do it anywhere near as. I mean, I've got so much. Shout out for all the people that organise park runs because it's such a fantastic sort of inclusive event, and people doing it out of just their own time. It's fantastic. So do park run sporadically. But
because I did an episode previous to this one about park run, and the man Paul something Hewitt. He was in a kind of a similar situation where he was injured, getting very frustrated, lost his job, but he wanted to be with his friends. He didn't want to go to an event where he was kind of, signed up or whatever. But he created the event because he wanted to run with his friends. And that's how it all started.
I mean, it is very social and you see groups, obviously, that I'm not part of a running club, but you see people in the sort of local running clubs around Twickenham and Richmond area. And it is, and actually interesting, again, referring back to my brother-in-law, they've recently moved from Salisbury to Cornwall and he joined a running club and actually he's met, he's made friends there. So it is that sort of social thing.
Exactly. Because like you said, I mean, you can go in a gym and sometimes... you're just locked into.
It's quite solitary.
Solitary into your audio or whatever. You just do your
Your routine.
and hearing the grunts from everyone else. But whereas if you get involved from exactly.
What sort of gym do you go to?
And whereas if you do join a running club, then it is quite social because it's about all abilities. Whether you run, do 5 minute miles or you're doing 7.5, 8 minute miles or that whatever. So.
But both of them are pretty good.
That is true.
Neither you or I are hitting either of those.
Exactly.
Yeah, and on that topic, Brian, when I am back running, we will go for a run together.
Definitely,
and hopefully by then it'll be a bit warmer. Yeah, I always think the best time of the year for us to run, I always think is sort of towards the end of spring, early summer, where it's just starting to get a bit warm.
Yeah,
but it's not 35 degrees baking.
No, and that's the best time.
Yeah.
Although I do like it when it rains. I don't know if you're right.
Well,
you're not.
I don't mind rain. I hate the wind. If I hate running because I'm quite big. Yeah. You're big as well. It's we're like a windbreak, and you feel like you're not moving. But
although if you're going, I always think if you start off with the wind against you, and you're thinking, oh well, on the way back.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's just me.
It's behind me.
I don't know if it's just me, but like I always go in that mindset, and then it feels like the whole run I've run into the wind. It's almost like the wind has changed direction mid-run to punish me. But
great. Well, thanks very much for coming.
No, thanks.
And it's been great to hear from you. Maybe we'll have you on again.
Thank you very much.
Exactly.
Very enjoyable.
All right then. Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's it for another episode, and looking forward to speaking to you next week with some beginner hints and tips about running. I just want to let you know that you can follow me on X, or what was known as Twitter, at Brian's Run Pod. I have just recently set up a Facebook page which is called Brian's Run Pod, and I am on Instagram at Brian's Run Pod. Also, my website is www.briansrunpod.co.uk, where you can get show notes, or on whatever podcasting app you are listening to the show. Plus, all my episodes have chapter markers if you need to get to different segments of the show. Plus, leave a review, as it will help others find this podcast. Music is Happy Day by Stock Audio, not forgetting artwork by Alice Patterson. Till next week, thanks again for listening.